Welcome back to Imagination Station Network, and it's been an interesting few episodes, you must agree, and we're trying to get a varied range of people, and we're no short of people like that, and the gentleman next to me is another creative, and I hope it doesn't mind me saying, who doesn't think he's a creative man, and that's interesting for me. So welcome to the podcast, Michael.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, listen, anytime. Michael, I'll tell you a wee bit about how we met, Michael, and I will try my hardest not to talk as much on this because the producers they'll give me a hard time. I'm taking all the airtime. So, Michael, we are friends of South of Scotland Enterprise. We are involved. They help us out, and Michael works here, and we were on another job, and we bumped into Michael. Michael let slip something else that he does, and I'm thought to myself over the few weeks, this guy's so much more than what we see on the surface. So that's why I've asked you on, man, because you're an interesting human being, but you're also an interesting creative. So
thank you.
I know your job's changed, but what's your job title just now?
So as of a few weeks ago, I am the AI Innovation Lead for South of Scotland Enterprise. Before that, I was the Digital Development Specialist.
Nice. What does that entail?
So essentially, the previous job that I had was all about helping businesses with digital adoption. So I was looking at digital more broadly. So it was anything from helping businesses with kind of their websites, e-commerce, digital marketing, implementation of CRM systems, kind of things like that. Whereas now we've kind of narrowed our focus down specifically to look at support for AI awareness raising and then adoption, kind of with the ultimate strategic goal of kind of positioning the South of Scotland as an AI creator economy. So taking local businesses on that journey with, okay, so what is AI? Excellent. How can I use it? Great. What are the tools available to me right now? Okay, ultimately, how do I then start to develop my own kind of bespoke tools, automation workflows, etc. for my business?
And back a few months ago if you'd rhymed that off to me, I'd have been like, what? But it's like it's not gone away. And then I discovered, I can't remember if it was speaking to you the last time, that because everybody's got that whole scare factor of AI, and somebody said, I don't know if it was you, it said, your parking sensors on your car, that's AI, and I'm like, oh man,
it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It is all around us, and there is such a buzz and hype around AI at the moment that every software company is trying to stuff AI into its software, whether it should be in there or not. So anyone that's like, oh, I'm not sure about AI, they're already using it. They just don't know.
The thing is, as a dyslexic human being, I've been using it for a long time, and I still manage to make mistakes. It's not perfect, but what I do is I put the words in, and being Scottish, sometimes I write it in Scottish and it doesn't pick it up, but it's getting better. And I've noticed, I've used that for a wee while. The AI's coming on.
Sorry, I can't understand half of the Scottish words.
So this will be an interesting interview. I'll try and use my proper accent and try not to bamboozle you. But Michael, your journeys, your accent clearly from these parts. Neither am I, to be fair. So what's your creative journey? We're in this podcast, and especially in the pilot, we're interested in seeing how creatives' journeys, especially somebody like yourself who you're a humble guy, man, who doesn't class himself as a creative in that, in that window, because I've been there as like, I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a this.
Yep.
And then that word opened and went, I'm a creative. I'm a creative in my own sense of what I do. So I'm going to take my jacket off. For the guys that are listening on Spotify, it is a sunny day out there and it is absolutely roasting. So I'm taking my jacket off. So tell us what it is, what your creative journey looks like.
Okay. So very briefly, otherwise I'll speak all day. If you go back to high school, so didn't quite know what I wanted to do as a career. I enjoyed art, enjoyed English, those kind of creative type courses. But then I remember I got a copy of a piece of software called Lightwave 3D. And if anybody comes out of the sort of animation, visual effects industries, they might recognise Lightwave 3D. This is going back probably 35 years. It was a very popular piece of software for modeling and animation.
Right.
And I remember that I got hold of this piece of software and it just blew my mind. I was like, that's it. This is what I want to do. I had no idea what I wanted to do within that sphere, but it was like, I love this. So I then kind of, I wouldn't say I made the mistake, but I then went into university and just did a more general purpose kind of IT software dev sort of course. Mm-hmm. Got a few weeks into it just before I started incurring debt.
Wow.
And realised that it wasn't actually the type of IT that I wanted to do. I wanted to be much more in that creative space. So I pulled out of university and then ended up going into a private college and where I did a diploma of animation.
Wow.
So that introduced me to a lot of kind of industry best practice, the software stacks that are used, obviously the skill of animation, really, really enjoyed it. Come out of it and then realised that there was no animation industry in Brisbane, which is the city that I grew up in. So I had a choice that I could either relocate to Sydney or Melbourne that had a larger, not only animation, but film and game development, because they were all kind of career options. But what I chose to do at the time was to stay in Brisbane and go into my fallback career, which was to become a draftsperson. So I was also very fascinated in drafting and CAD and that sort of thing. So the good news is that I got a job as a junior draftsman at a large engineering consultancy and started to actually explore how I could bring in sort of the skills that I learned through animation into engineering. In the form of what they call engineering visualization. So I don't know if you've ever seen, if they want to build like a new road or a new bridge, they might create this really fancy fly around video of what that's going to look like. So normally engineering companies would outsource that to visual effects or animation design houses. Whereas the company that I worked for, which was known as Oricon, based out of Australia and New Zealand, they decided that, okay, so we've got this person here that's got the talent in-house, let's start to create these visualizations ourselves. Wow. So from there, the journey kind of continued. We built a team around it. In about 2013 or 14, we started to transition from what they call pre-rendered visualizations, so that is the process of rendering and creating a movie that you watch, using the same sort of rendering process as what something like Pixar might use for their kind of feature films. We then started looking at things like game engine technologies. Wow. And how we could start to make interactive visualizations. So we did that for a while. The clients loved it. But then, the next logical step from that is to say, okay, so since we've got these fully interactive models of engineering designs, why don't we actually start building in tools for our own engineers and designers to start making better decisions around their design? So, for instance, if we are doing a wayfinding project for an airport, why don't we model that up, put it into virtual reality, and have people actually move through the terminal to evaluate different wayfinding design options? Or if we've got a cycleway that we're trying to build, let's put people on a bike trainer, so that they can actually pedal with the VR goggles on.
Wow.
And put them through 3 or 4 different cycleway designs and see which ones they prefer. So it kind of built on from that. We ended up having quite a large team. We acquired an external agency that pretty much increased our size from about 12 people up to about 40 people. And then it kind of culminated in this piece of software that we created called SiteLab. So I created the initial MVP, taught myself how to code because it was very code intensive. We used the Unity platform, which uses C# as the coding language. And then SiteLab ended up going on to win awards, quite a prestigious award in Australia, the Good Design Awards in Australia, which was fantastic. So that was kind of the journey up to that point within Australia. Mm-hmm. And then obviously I'm here now in Scotland, so you can blame that on my lovely Scottish wife that I met.
Thank you.
About 15 years ago. Been married, 10-year anniversary just coming up in a few months' time. So I've got 2 young children. It was just something that I've always wanted to do. I've come over here with the family every year.
Brilliant, man.
Love Scotland, absolutely love it. So couldn't be more happy to be here.
We're all cousins in that anyway. Right.
Right.
We're all cousins.
That's
and
right. I've got Scottish lineage through both my parents, as it turns out. So I've got a UK passport, which definitely helped with the transition.
There was something you said there. It's like, that's fascinating stuff for me, because that's not my creative But I know for a fact that there'll be somebody, if not more than one, out there that what you're telling is like that's the blueprints for their future. That's why when I genuinely go quiet, that is filtering into my wee head, and it's like, and now know why you got your job. You've been there at the beginning of AI's birth, let's just say, which is like, well, maybe no, you're not that old, but you know, AI's, and now
the recent ChatGPT.
yes,
birth.
but you've worked the progression, and then you've ended up, that job was made for you. Like it sounds like you've done all that stuff, and then you just whacked in, because that's when we first met, and you were playing with the Oculuses in the corner there.
Yeah.
And I heard you say that you heard animation. I'm like, I've never met an animator before. I was like, and then nobody knew we were building this platform just yet, because I kept it to myself. I was like, he's a guest, man. So that's why we wanted you on the pilot, because it's an interesting thing, not only as a creative human being, but the layers that go into building these things. And you answered one of my questions before I'd even answered it there, you know, like the blueprints and building it and putting it in and doing it. There's lots of people in that area, and you're one of the cogs.
Yeah, it's like that. Like I'm fascinated by that intersection of technology and creative. And I guess when we talked about like some people consider themselves creatives, some people don't. I think that the risk is that people that tend more towards the technical side might not necessarily consider themselves a creative. But I find it's like a technical artist. So there's this role that you can get within the industry that's called a technical artist, and it is absolutely that intersection. They're the people that can bang out amazing artistic, drawings, but then they can also jump in and roll their sleeves up and do some code. They can code shaders. They can, do various things. And I think that like that's such a valuable skill set to have.
We've got one of them in our team. We've got Jan's husband Ian. He's like you, but also the artist side. And it's just like, how's that? Like for me, it's like I'm just homing in on my gifts, but when you get somebody like that in your team, man, you protect them at all costs.
Absolutely. Like the first person that I hired into my team, he's never going to listen to this, but if he ever does, Brad Scott works at Unity.
Well done, Brad.
Hope you're doing well, mate. Like exactly the type of people that come in and you just realise that they can just change everything. And you're right, you just want to grab them. And so I would only hire technical artists from that point on.
And it's just when you said there, that leads me on to my next thing, is like change. I find that not just creatives, but as humans, change is a scare thing.
Yep.
But unless you change, if you've watched the other podcasts, the fact is that there's elements of risk.
Absolutely.
And there'll be a lot, I imagine there's a lot of risk with computers and the designing, and even there's risk in AI and not asking it the right prompts and stuff like that. But if you don't take the risks, then...
That's right. And there's also the existential risks of AI, But yeah, 100%. And I think that, and again, like, without wanting to look too much through the lens of AI, because I know that it's not everything. Like we are about to enter into such a period of huge potential societal change that I think that everyone needs to be a little bit more comfortable with being able to say, I've got no idea what's going to happen over the next few years, but I've got confidence in myself and my skill sets to know that I can somehow navigate a path through this. Not me personally, but that's what everybody should be saying, because I think that there is just so much change that is getting heaped upon us so fast that we as a society aren't really having time to catch up and understand what these changes mean for us. But then also government policymakers, there is no way that they are in a position where they can respond to the speed of change at the moment. So we just need to accept the fact that we are entering into a very strange period of...
And like you say there, like the process of that's been like, it's quite, I don't know, time scale, let's just say for the 60s, to the jump to the 80s, and then for the 80s, this is in my timeline, in the 80s to 2000, the amount of stuff that has been crammed in the change in there, computers, places. But I personally know people who have become quite wealthy from using computers and AI. Not just AI, like AI is just a part of it, but they've set a business up because they seen this 10 years ago. And they're like, this has been for a while, now it's going to go. So like you say, if we either accept it, get on board, or we just step out the way and let somebody else. That's the process for me. It's like AI is never going to go away. But let's get back onto you. So the fact is that you've had quite an eclectic few jobs, but they're still in the same I find like you're the first creative that I've met that the jobs have been the same. Like in this 5-part pilot, the other creatives have had colourful lives. Like it's like so we had Jordan. So he was I've got him on my phone as a singing hairdresser. He's a fantastic guy. He's a hairstylist. But then see when he came on here and he's like with his LP, and I was like, oh, that's great. He's like, oh, I designed that. And I'm like,
okay.
We're sitting there all of a sudden and we're talking. But yours is this. It's the same journey, except you've went with the same kind, no job. I don't want to use the word job, but you've stayed in the same lane.
I guess it's like it's in that technology space. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's
like
it.
like I really enjoy like trying to figure out how you can take things that work really well in one industry and then bringing them over to a completely new industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, I find that to be innovation. I know there's lots of different definitions of innovation, but like innovation doesn't always necessarily need to be a completely new and novel idea. It can be taking something that works really well over here,
Yeah.
and saying, great, well, why don't we try that over here? And so the example is obviously what I touched on before, where we looked at what was working really well in the game engine and the game development sphere and saying, well, that's good, but actually these can be used for more than just making games. They're actually just really, really powerful interactive engines. Why don't we see what we can do over here? So I think
You just said something there, and everybody who knows me personally and through the podcast, like, that's it. This isn't new. It's like I'm constantly saying is like, this is not a new thing. But, and that's what I'm saying, you've technically not stayed in your lane, but you enhance as a you've enhanced yourself.
Yep.
Like in two ways. It's either you go a different lane and you go into a different job, or you yourself expand as a human, whether it be knowledge, whether it be, I mean, you've came over to Scotland, that's a big expansion, things like that. But I'm always saying this is not a new, like what we do for a job, again, I've only got my own experiences, is like, that's not new, it's just delivered different. And that's what you just said there, is like, and you guys need to understand this, man. And again, it's always just a suggestion, it's never a command. Is like, there's something that you want to do, but you need to realise somebody's already done it. And if they haven't, then fair play, capitalise on that. But the majority of the time, somebody's done it and it's out there, and you have the digital, I've got the computers or whatever. You can even go to the library and find it, and it's like, then you expand on it.
And I guess it's also like the underlying skill sets that you need, like curiosity, that kind of pursuit of lifelong learning is like so important. Self-improvement, like wanting to get up every day and learn something new, better yourself in some capacity. Like it's so critical. I couldn't imagine fear. I couldn't imagine waking up and not wanting to learn something new that day. Like learning new stuff is the coolest thing ever, right? Like,
and the fact is, like, we do learn every day, but see if we don't highlight it and you don't understand it, then you need to go back and have a look at it and go, because you've learned far more than you think. The brain and the eyes and the hands, like I'm constantly moving, but the things I've got to know, I've had to learn them. Like, and again, we'll go back. Inspire to be inspired is exactly what you've just said there. It's like we're inspired by other people. So that's how that came about. And it's like, if we don't show how we've learned to other people, like the podcast, like you coming on here and giving away what you know, then how are we meant to inspire the people behind the camera or the people on Spotify, etc., etc.? That's a great value. And I'll tell you this, not many creatives have that. And again, I'll not go on a big spiel about it, but... And I get why a lot of creatives want to keep it to themselves, because that's their business and that's what they do. So I'm really no slandering that. But if the majority of us give their time away, like Michael here, and come in and we share it and we tell the journeys, and as I keep saying, if you don't hear your story in the first couple of podcasts, stick with it, man. There's the creatives is far and wide, but it fascinates me. Because like we have a lot more in common than we first initially talking over there. Is like we find that when creatives come together, there is a certain commonality, whether it be ethos, whether it be work ethos. There is always something that you can go away and find. So let's go back a wee bit. So let's go. I'm always a bit time traveling, right? See, when that's invented, you'll never see me again. But like as a youngster, as a young creative, because I'm interested in showcasing to the guy, the watchers, that What was it like as a youngster? Is this the job that you always, not the job, is this the person you always thought you would become? Or when you were
Absolutely
young?
not.
No?
Absolutely not. Like I absolutely feel like I've just kind of fallen into where I am now. And now that I look back, like it all makes so much sense and it feels right. But I don't think there was any period at the time where I felt entirely comfortable knowing where I was going to end up.
Right.
Even from way back in high school. Again, like liked to draw, liked to be creative, had no idea how to actually apply that. I guess it's like everybody's going to have uncertainty at that age.
Yeah.
I guess it's just navigating that. And so I kind of, when I went to university, that was a bit of a moment of like, I have no idea what I want to do, so I'm just going to go and do this. And it didn't take me very long to realise that actually, no, I shouldn't just be doing something just because I feel it's, I need to kind of find what I'm passionate about and try and follow that. But yeah, I feel like my career has actually just been a whole series of coincidences.
Wow, I don't think it is coincidences though. It's like your parents would never, you would never have got what you've got just now had your parents said to you, and we all had it, you should not be doing what you're doing. Do you know, it's like you have to, because we always fight against that, and that's the reason why you've ended up doing what you do, because you fought against it on your own terms. If somebody came along and goes, and everybody does it, you shouldn't be doing that, and you're like, and then you go home going, maybe I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Or maybe you just like giving it the old two fingers and saying, I'm supposed to do this because it's going to lead to something else. But when you've got that young and your naivety, you're constantly learning, and you're like a computer, you're constantly programming your mind into what you want to do. I don't believe in coincidences, but I do believe that there's always two forks in the road, and one will always take you to where you need to be, good or bad, and so will the other one. But you'll always end up meeting in the middle. By the way, if there's anybody young listening, I'm 43 this year. I'm now that guy who's giving away all the info. Like, I like the wee Rafiki out of Lion King.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm at that age now where it's just everything's all slotting in. But I guess, creatives, it doesn't matter how far along the journey is, it takes as long as it needs to take.
Yep.
And like there's people out there, I'm meeting people who are 60 and 65, 70 and a wee bit older, and they sit in their student cells, and it's like, hey man, good for you, because it doesn't matter how long it takes.
Well, that's it. Like, it's like they're almost. There's not an end state anyway. It is all about the journey.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard of a lady over in Dumfries that's going to start up an animation studio. And she's in her 70s, I believe.
Wow.
And when I heard that, I was like, that is absolutely fantastic.
That's epic.
So yeah, it doesn't. There's no end state. Like there can't be. It's just continuing that journey.
But staying humble is probably one of the best gifts that I've ever been given. I've been humbled quite a lot, but staying humble and always learning a lesson, like I say, with the learning every day, but also there is people out there that can help you.
Yep.
That's the worst thing, is like to try and close yourself off, because you can't expand and you can't learn and you can't get to the where we are just now by not going through. And it's like, always talk about the fear.
And it'd be quite lonely too, I think.
Yeah.
Like a rising tide lifts all boats. Like the more that people can collaborate, come together, share their experiences, good and bad, I think that's better for everybody.
100%. I think it is like I'm always trying to inspire like youngsters, adults, whoever. But the point is that I've ended up here, like you're saying, with a serendipitous way. I'm meant to be here at this right moment in this moment right in time, because everything has led. Because I've listened and I've watched and I've seen people who I've liked what they did. That's what I was trying to say. I've looked up to from afar. Now you have the opportunity to be able to reach out and say to people.
You can inspire people.
Yes, that's the whole point. Is like, and I know for a fact we're only 24 minutes in, and you already have inspired the digital side of the world as well as that. It's like, that's how it is. It's like when you meet people like you, we need to get you to tell what you do so that everybody's like, oh, that's an option.
Yep.
That's the word. Yep. By the way, if nobody knows the disclaimer, I'm ADHD and autistic, so I try not to squeeze all the words out in at once, but that's what it is. It's like, and when you get to there, you'll know. So I never go too far into the future, but we know you got a new job. When the transition, this is me being selfish. I know it's my podcast and the team's podcast, but the transition from Australia into Scotland, the work differences for somebody who does your kind of job? Was there a big difference? Was there a plus and a negative?
Look, to be honest, like I find that the Australian culture and Scottish culture is really, really similar.
Ah, cool.
So whenever we would come over here for holidays, like I instantly felt at home. So the work ethic is the same. Our kind of ethos is the same. So to be honest, there was no like massive cultural shock, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I guess from my perspective now is that I've gone from working for a very large global engineering consultancy where you would work on these ginormous kind of generational projects that could take 20 years to come to fruition.
Wow, aye.
Whereas now I live in the south of Scotland, I work for South of Scotland Enterprise, I'm making impact amongst the businesses that I see and that are around me every day. And I find that super rewarding. Like, you know, the option was always that I could move here and then just go and get a job in Edinburgh for an engineering consultancy and just keep doing what I was doing. But I actually find that being able to actually see that impact that I'm having, work directly with businesses. You know, I've got 2 kids, so I want to make sure that they've got as much opportunity down here in the south as what anybody has got anywhere. So it's much more, I guess, personally rewarding. The way that drives you, so which is great.
I think you've got it. It's like everybody strives for the happy medium life, and it's like you have to prioritise in order to do what you do for your family as well. That's what it is to be in a family. But I know, I guess you're quite fortunate that you're not able to sacrifice any of your creativity, you know, and you've got a job that does all that, and it's like that's what hard work looks like, guys. That's what it is, man. If you've got something, then you can get that balance.
And look, to be honest, like it's I love working in the south of Scotland. There is so many amazing businesses, so much amazing innovation. Like the creative industries here in the south of Scotland is absolutely thriving. Like it's super, super exciting. It's just great to be part of that.
And I guess that's another thing, that the subconscious of doing these things, and the I guess the unselfish thing is by seeing people grow. Yep. And being able to, I'm not going to do the fruit analogy. If MD's watched all the other podcasts, I feel as I've burnt you out on that one, but it is like that. You know, you're giving away your time. You're watching those businesses small. We'll do the acorn one, like the wee acorn into a tree. But, you know, like I keep saying, there's an element of risk in that. It's like if you don't take the risk, like this area is very fortunate to have, and I'm not just saying that because we're using the podcast room, but South of Scotland Enterprises takes small businesses and they can make them big, but you have to work alongside it.
Yep.
And that's what you do, you know, like you opened our eyes up to like AI. Like as an artist, I'm just kind of gone and doing my own thing, but it can enhance.
Yep.
It can, and we had a conversation before, but it can enhance that. I'm not saying I agree with like the AI that steals the art and all that stuff. That's not why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here to showcase Michael and what his skill set is. But when you can work alongside that, and that's a big, because I know you're a big advocate. Oh, you have to be in your job now, but you're a big advocate for that. So we want to thank you, because we went and saw other wee bits that we're doing. So you've enhanced us. But if anybody's listening and they get anything for the first 28 minutes, reach out. Michael works alongside and works for South of Scotland Enterprises. We're not just plugging it there because we're in the podcast room. This stuff works. And what we're trying to showcase is that you're going to make loads of mistakes. Make no lie about that. You're going to make loads of mistakes. But see if you've got a man like this on your side and you're ready to take the I say coming out from behind the couch, it makes at least 10 less mistakes, if that makes sense. You know, you get to go forward and have a group of other people there that you can put them in touch with.
Yeah, you don't feel like you have to do it alone. Like starting a business is like a huge thing, and for one person or a few people, you know, it can be super daunting. But like, you absolutely don't need to do it alone. There is support out there that people like myself and others that I work with that like want to help these businesses because. Again, that's going to make a much more thriving and diverse south of Scotland, which is what everybody
100%.
wants.
The world's changing, man. You know, I keep moaning and saying this about it. It's like the world's changing, and like I say, get on board and get something that shows creatives, as you'll have seen, come in all shapes and sizes, colours, forms, anything, man. Just try something. So we've touched on the younger Michael. I'm interested to know what your first computer was.
It was an Amiga 500.
Right.
So I remember this because it was Christmas morning. Me and my brother, we went down into where the Christmas tree was, and there was this kind of desk with a big blanket over the top with something underneath, and we had no idea what it was. And so my dad pulled the blanket off and pressed a button on the keyboard, and the computer spoke to us, and it said,
Jeez.
said, "Hello, David and Miguel," because I couldn't pronounce my name at the time. And it absolutely just blew my mind. So it was an old Amiga 500, and it's just been going on since then.
That's epic. We probably wouldn't have been friends because I'm a ZX Spectrum 48K. I know, and it came out at the same time because my pal Timmy had one like that. But again, your parents gave you a gift there because that was the thing at the time and they knew they were interested in it. But let's play devil's advocate here. The job you do is like, had they possibly not got you that computer, and we don't dwell on the past, that you can tell you're excited even telling that story. It's like that opens the gateway. So it's like, I get, everybody's got money, parents, all that stuff, but and again, it brings it back to what you do for a job. The knowledge is shared. Is kind of like the opening the computer and seeing that. I'm using that as an analogy. So what you do for a job now, you're pretty much giving away what you've been given.
Yep.
That's important, man. That's the important thing that we want to showcase. You're a cool guy, Michael, as well. Like when we met you, it's like we need that guy on the podcast. I just think that you have a job that people are going to stand up and pay attention to now, and computer programmers and digital people. I feel like, and again, disagree if you think that they were shunned in the past because there wasn't that many jobs because they all in-housed everything, big companies. Whereas now you can pretty much start up your own company if you've got the knowledge straight away.
100%. And like the tools that are available these days is so if we look purely at the animation industry. So back when I first got into it, the only options were things like Autodesk 3ds Max, Autodesk Maya. These have huge costs attached to them. Whereas now, if you want to learn that, not only is there kind of cheap or free software that's available, so things like Blender, which is industry standard, completely free. There's things like the Adobe subscriptions. I won't necessarily go into the whole Adobe debate at the moment, but there are also alternatives such as Affinity, recently bought out by Canva, that offer much more kind of palatable price points for their software. But then also like the dissemination of skills, knowledge, tutorials through things like YouTube, cheap courses that you can buy on Udemy and things. There's never been a time like now where, and I've kind of framed it around animation, but really it applies to everything. There's never been a time now where you can get such a wealth of knowledge and training and all of that kind of wraparound support for next to no cost. Like, it is super exciting. And then and as an extension on that, I don't want to go too deep into all of this, you look at things like no-code and low-code platforms. It's the same for app development. Like before, if you wanted to be an app developer, you would need to be a software developer. You would need to specialize in specific languages depending on what platform you wanted to target, whether that was iOS, Android, etc. Whereas now, there are very cheap off-the-shelf tools where you can put things together without needing to write one line of code. And if you do need to write code, then you can turn to your friendly artificial intelligence to help you write that code as well. So I think there is this massive democratization of software and skills at the moment, which means that probably for the first time in history that I think is that anybody that has an idea now has everything that they need at their fingertips to bring that idea into reality, which is so exciting. Imagine all of the amazingly cool and diverse things that are going to start popping up all over the place now, things that would never have been possible before. Now suddenly anyone can do it. It's fantastic.
I've got to tell you, they're popping up already. I'm already starting to see these. I'll be brutally honest with you, this podcast only exists because you gave your time up to come in. I didn't know how to work that machine. I only learned to work it as you watch for podcast 1, 2, and I think on the third one with the volume. But that's the progression. That's again another creatively sharing the information, and then you go forward. I'm not a big fan of computers, but that's why I'm constantly telling people about the fear and the change, is because I fear it. Because my level of creativeness is always stumped by it. It's like, and I can do that and I can do that. But let me tell you is that just listening to Michael there and he's passionate about that is like, push past that. We've pushed past it, and I was showing Michael a secret project we're working on. Everything he just mentioned there, that's what it is. It's like, push yourself past that and learn it. I get it, you know, like in my era of like the older generation wouldn't be able to work computers. It's going to change now, man. It's like it's already started to change. I'm seeing people who are 60s and 70s retraining themselves through computers, and I'm like, this is the time for that stuff to happen.
Yeah, and the thing is that like the kids that are growing up now, like they're going to have a world that is so different that we literally cannot imagine it. Like, you know, if you go back 40 years and ask well, maybe a bit longer than 40, to be fair. I keep forgetting that I'm also in my early 40s. You know, if you go back to the 60s and say, imagine what life looks like in 2025, like they would absolutely not have picked up on half the things that we're doing now because they had no frame of reference or context for that. It'll be the same for us. You know, my kids are 6 and 8. What's the job market going to look like for them? What skills are they going to need? How has AI and other you know, emerging technologies impacted everything? I've got absolutely no idea.
No, because we don't know. It's like I'm always say, we always live one day at a time, but you know, you can get a lot out of that one day.
Yep.
You get a lot out of that one day, and like you say, the kids of the future, they're going to be flying. But it's like, if you just said the 60s and the 50s and the 60s, imagine what your job looked like in the 50s and the 60s. Even as like an animator.
Yep.
Like, by the way, this is no rehearsed. These are all done on one take. But I like old movies, you know, like so the glass.
Oh,
and they would paint on the
Yep,
glass, and then they'd make sure it was clean, and then they would film it. They're still using that today, except it's just different. It's different. It's used on a computer, but it's still the same process.
It's like when I see like an old set squares and T-squares, the old methods of drafting. You know, I went into the engineering industry, but when I was in high school, we still sat at the big tables with our set squares and our T-squares, and everything was done with pens. That was just before, you know, CAD, computer-aided design, became a thing, which obviously transformed the industry. But yeah,
look at Disney.
Yeah,
like if MD's ever seen how they animate the well-known mouse, there's like hundreds of animators in this one room, and they're literally gone. And I've watched a program where they're like, nah, and it's like hours and hours.
And you could make an argument that old school animation has a certain feel that they haven't been quite able to recreate. So
you're right.
There's something about it.
Yeah. But here's another great thing: the Steamboat House Mickey, you're allowed to paint him and sell him.
Oh, excellent!
He's in the what's the world
open domain.
Yeah. And it's like I get it, and again, it's back to that closed off creatives for a reason. You know, you work hard, you want to be able to protect that, and that again, like even if like there's stuff that we do and I'm happy for people at this point to be using it because, like the paintings, you want people to be redoing your stuff at this stage of the business because it's like the biggest is flattery.
Yeah.
When somebody's using it, start selling loads of them. Hey, I'm coming for you. But you know, it's like I like seeing people because that's how we learn. Some people learn by physical, as in like you came in and you showed me that. You had to show me a few times because that's how I learn.
Yep.
But there will be people out there that will be able to learn now on platforms and sit there and talk through the headpieces and take them through it, and they'll be like, boom, and it will just be learned so much quicker.
Yep.
Do you know, it's like we only use so much of our brain. I believe that in years to come, like that part of your brain is being unlocked, and that's the computers. Again, I'm drifting off, but that's where the computers will come in. It's sort of like I truly believe. You remember the film Lawnmower Man?
Oh yeah,
that's where all this started.
Early
yes.
CGI, yeah, that's a classic.
And the movement for that, that's still valid. Like that's still a valid movie that you think, aye. Again, I'm going off on a mad thing, but it's
that's
like,
all right. Well, just on that point that you raised around like you protecting your work, like I think like the creative industries is in a really tight spot at the moment because I think that obviously AI, and again, we don't want to necessarily touch on the negatives. It is impacting the creative industries disproportionately to the way that it's impacting other industries. There's challenges around creatives valuing their work appropriately for the time that they're investing. So, you know, there are certainly challenges around that industry, which again makes me think that the more that it can rally together and work together, the more powerful it can be and the more success it can be. Because there is no doubt that it is a challenging time to be a creative and to have a career a sustainable career in the creative industries.
Yeah, but it's like I'm always talking about the well-oiled engine. There's many components to an engine, and it's like if you put loads of creatives in, that engine becomes massive.
Absolutely.
I would put it in Michael's computer terms. A big search engine.
Yeah,
it's the same though,
yeah.
innit? It's like the old school saying there's safety in numbers, but you put a lot of creatives in the room.
Well, it's collective power, it's collective voice.
Maybe that's something we should do. Like, let's get 100 creatives and put them in the room. And then I think lock the door and steal all their ideas. But if you put them in the room, and like a lot of creatives are quite closed off, and if you put them in the room, you'll find that we'll have at least one commonality, if not more and more.
Could you
and
imagine
more.
the projects and the collaborations that will come out of that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, you heard it here first. I'm protecting it.
That's right.
It's coming here
right.
first. But it's true though, man. It's like, I get it. The world is a closed off place at the best of times. Like, I don't mind telling you, I'm a lonely artist. I spend a lot of time working on my stuff, but I was able to create a world that I can bring people into and be unselfish and show them how this is and how it operates and how the different components and people come on board, and I'm fortunate for that. But even the bad parts that he's hearing me talking about, you have to embrace them.
Yep.
You have to. There's no other way. You have to embrace
and
that
you
because
have to talk about it as well.
you have to bring it and get oxygen. And the reason why is because that's where the biggest growth is.
Yep.
That's where the biggest growth isn't when you go from 0 to 10. It's when you go 0, 1, I made the mistake there. 0, 0, 1, 2, that's where the biggest growth is. And it's like, I hear a lot of people saying they struggle. I'm like, but you're not struggling, you're learning.
Yeah, it's interesting. This was raised, I was at a conference a few days ago, and the same thing was raised about the fact that Scotland has a real problem with failure, and that we need to turn that on its head and embrace failure as just part of that journey.
It's the culture, isn't it? It's like, I get it, we're a humble race of people, but it's like, we need to embrace that part. We all always seem to praise the good.
Yeah.
Whereas we're the complete opposite. I like to praise the bad, not necessarily bad, but also give other options, other avenues.
And the thing is, if you fail, you've arguably learned more through that process than if you have managed to serendipitously find success, for instance.
And nobody found it in a day. And if they did, they're either lying or they're really good. And we'll have your phone number,
lucky,
please.
But
it is, and there you go. You just mentioned something else, luck. There is a lot of luck in this game. There is a lot of luck, lady luck, as we like to call it, But hey, it's like whatever it is your creative journey, like you didn't just wake up and do this.
Yeah, I think yes, luck is involved, but at the same time, you can absolutely position yourself in a way that if luck does happen to come past, you are there primed and ready to go to grab that.
Exactly. Yeah. But all the other stuff you've spoke about is about giving yourself the space for it, the space to learn. It's like we created 4 steps, and again, I probably apologise if I've said that again, but the 4 steps of the Jag Art Academy is step 1, you've committed to yourself. It'll be the same as like when you're building something. I'm going to do it and I'm going to put it on that canvas. Step 2, I don't like it. And then we jump from step 2 to step 4. I'm finished. And you're like, you're missing the point, man. You're missing step 3. Why you're doing it, the process, the whole journey of it. It's a journey, man.
How you keep your motivation up. It's like the risk is that if you try something, it doesn't quite work. You're like, all right, well, that's it. I'll try something else. But it's like that determination.
It is. You've got to keep going. But that's actually leading me on to a question. So, is it the same? That's for me. Like, I think other artists call it the ugly stage, when you're not quite sure of the painting or whatever you're making, and it's like, oh, is this working? And that's why a lot of artists give up on it and move on to something else. Whereas I like to pride and go and keep doing it, even if I don't like it at the end. I've finished it.
Yep.
Is that the same process for building something, or?
Yeah, I mean, building is slightly different because you generally work from the kind of outcome first, and then you work back into your requirements. So you kind of have a very clear, well, you should have a very clear idea of where you want to end up, whereas that's not the case through an artistic process, for instance, where maybe you're kind of learning that on the journey. So it is slightly different. I personally have a massive problem with like learning something and then stopping and then going to the next shiny thing. So, I've got things that I need to work on to be able to commit to seeing things through. Yeah. This is from a personal perspective, the personal type artistic endeavour.
Well, that's why you're here. It's here for personal, Michael, as well as work.
Yep.
But So I'm not here to analyse you, but you're an expander. I watched you do it when you were writing something. Is like, and you talk about it. So it's like you go into it, and then you take it this way. A lot of people go into it, like you've just said there, and then they move it. Whereas that's how you've obviously learned, is like by going in and then this is how, and it's like the same with this. It's like you came in and you said you press that button and do this, and then I'm like that. And it's simple. But had I not been shown it by somebody who does step then I don't know, I reckon I would still be trying to work out a system, because that's the way my mind works.
Yep.
And I guess I'm trying to say, we're all the same but different, and we've got different programming manuals. But I've found that somebody of your programming manual meets me when we didn't really know each other, and the next minute it's like your programming manual gives me what I needed.
I love that analogy.
It's
the
just,
programming
like,
manual.
it's I just think that people like us, we should be celebrated. We should be celebrating how we've got here, how we've discovered the journey, and then best of all, giving it away to somebody else.
Yep.
Like my best pal, wee Jan, says to me, she's like, "Oh, no, it was something we were mulling out, a new project that I can't talk about," and she's like, "No, I did it, and I need that." I says, "No, Jan, that's not your job to do that. Your job now is to find somebody that you can give that away to."
Yep.
Do you know what I mean by that? It's like I've gave you that, and now it's like you need to then go and find somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, none of us got to where we are without having that kind of external influence. You know, you look back through my career, and it's full of very generous mentors and people that would disseminate that information. So it's just you're giving back, you're passing on. It's
100%.
just what you need to do.
It is, and it's like paying forward. That isn't just a word, by the way, guys. It is literally paying forward to people. Like Michael has clearly given his time up to us. We'll pay that forward. That's the beauty of it. Is like, I think in a world where everyone seems that everybody's taking and taking and taking. Listen, guys, if you're in a world that everybody's taking and taking and taking, the only way you can break that cycle is for you to give and give and give a little. Not saying that the people who are taking will stop taking, but if you get less oxygen, then, that's what it is.
Yep, that's it. I mean, this is going to be a massive tangent.
That's all right.
Very brief. Like, obviously, there's things happening in the world right now where we're seeing a lot of people behaving in ways that benefit themselves and very selfish behaviours. Like, I think that it's even more important now for people to stand up and say, no, that's not the world that I want. I want a world where I can give and, again, where I can pay it forward, as you say. Like, it is so important for us as a society to stand up and say, no, I don't. That's not what we want. You know, for Scotland to be able to stand up and say, that's not what we want. We want to have this sort of society, and that's what's going to see us succeed. I think that's super important.
It's like everybody's trying to create themselves a better version, but stop climbing that invisible ladder. And if you are climbing a ladder of success, remember the people as you meet.
Yep.
Because you're going to have to come back down that ladder. You know what I mean? And they people are either going to help you down, or they're just going to go, well,
Yeah, that's right.
That's the next minute you're falling down fast.
Yeah. So hopefully don't step on people's heads on your way up.
And I find, the people who are very successful, and I get business is tough, man, by the way, but the people who are successful are the people like you're saying who give it away, and the people who are there to give you knowledge, mentors and stuff. But I find that a very interesting thing that there are people on both sides who just want to create and take, and people who want to create and give. And both are valid and both are excellent. I'm not taking that away from them. I just find it fascinating because that's the way my wee creative mind goes. So Michael, it's always interesting to meet you. There was something else you said earlier when we were coming in. Like, you don't know see this, but Michael's got a wee board. I'll give away his secret. He's got a wee board there behind and just a couple of wee things on it. But that's an interesting learning thing. Like I'm clearly, everybody used to say, I'm just winging it. But that's how I learn. I learn by asking questions and thinking of the process. And the reason I'm pointing, by the way, because there is a board there. Is that through your programming kind of thing? Do you think that is that?
I think it's more that I kind of, when I get put on the spot in things like this, I tend to I tend to maybe not focus on some of the things that I really want to focus on. But at the same time, like, it's great that we can just have this kind of free-flowing conversation that kind of takes us anywhere. But there's a few points that I think, oh, okay, so if the topic turns to that, it'd be really great if I talk about this specific thing. So I just make a little note for myself. It's like I deliver lots of presentations and I use PowerPoint, and you should see my presenter notes, like the notes that only I can see, like every page, every slide, I've got like a page of presenter notes. And again, it's because I just want them there to jog my memory in case it comes up that I can start to talk about that as well. Otherwise, I will just kind of bang through and I'll get to the end. I go, you know
Missed
what?
it.
I should have talked about that. That was I feel that was really important, and I missed it.
And the reason I'm saying is like it's not a dig. I'm not any different. You do not want to see the messages I send to my phone, and that's the exact same process. It's like we all need, and I'm going to use this word lightly. We all need a bit of structure.
Yep.
Like that's the structure, and it does come in different shapes and forms. But it always fascinates me when I meet somebody and they do the writing on the board, because I do it on a phone, but when I'm painting, that's what I do when I'm painting. I have it as words, and I create it, and then I'm like, and then instantly the name comes for whatever it is I've painted, because the words are already there.
Okay.
Ask anybody in my team. I have like 12 whiteboards. It's
Nice.
when you come and visit us, man.
Whiteboards.
Oh, you wait till you see
You got
these.
post-it notes?
I'm not a post-it notes. No, I know.
Okay.
But I'm coloured pens on
love it.
on the board. You'll see when you come, man.
Yep.
Like you said about that new thing you showed, it's colour. It's all about colour.
Yep.
And I'm like, have you seen that? And I say to people, have you seen that whiteboard? No. And you have to walk past it. You know, it's got all the colours.
Can I just say, like, from the photos I've seen of your premises, like, you or somebody else has got some pretty amazing fashion design.
Oh.
Like, the colours, it looks so great.
Excellent. You need to come and see it. By the way, I stumble there because I'm not used to taking compliments. That's another thing. Like, as you're going along your journey, accept the compliments. Like that's a great thing, that because there's not been many people seen it yet, but it's nice to know that, because it's aesthetically pleasing. Like the ceilings are the same colour and that, and it's
like bright complementary colours. Like, really
and
nice.
that keeps the energy.
Matches your shirt.
Yes,
which is fantastic.
Keeps all the energy, and I think that's another thing, and it's trying not to step on your own personal, because I'm on wee space in there, and then everybody else getting involved to show. Is like, I'm not scared to let people into the fold of what we're doing, because I'm not precious like that.
That's good, because it's quite personal to you as well. It's almost just like letting people in to that personal side of you, which I think is quite powerful.
I think as well, safety. I mean, we do say safety in numbers, but you've got to remember, it's got to be the right people. It's got to be the right people. You're not going to meet the folk who are going to join your wee squad straight away. And you know, if it's not somebody that comes along and benefits what you're doing or complements what you're doing, it's tough business.
Yep.
That's what it is business, and it's like, that's a tough thing. And it'll be tough for what you do as well, you know, if there's somebody coming along and you have to make hard decisions. But that's it, man. Nobody grew in the comfort zone, as they say.
Well, that's it. And I mean, everybody can only do what they can do.
Yeah. So, congratulations again on your new job.
Thank you.
We could talk to you all day. I've got a couple of burning questions before we finish up, man. They're no massively burning, but what does a guy who works with AI and helps other people in business and gives away a lot of their energy, and I don't mind saying that, what do you do for your spare time? What does a creative like you do?
So the official answer is, obviously, I've got two children and a beautiful wife. I love spending time with the family. My son's just learned how to ride a bike, so we're really enjoying getting out on our bikes. At a more personal level, I'm a massive gamer.
Right.
So at the moment, almost every night, once the kids go to bed, I've got a little bit of time that I've kind of ring fenced for myself, and that's like my unwind time. Sit in front of the couch, play the PlayStation. I'm teaching myself piano, so I'm kind of on that journey because I love listening to piano, and I've never played an instrument before, so I thought I'm going to give it a go. Self-teaching, but once I get to the point where I'm comfortable with getting professional lessons, I'll do that. I love to read books. I love to go mountain biking. I love to cook.
Nice.
So I actually am a bit of a kitchen gadget person. So I've got
blenders,
I've got 3 barbecues out the back, because you obviously you know, you're given a barbecue at birth when you're Australian. You know,
I like that.
I love to cook. I love to try lots of new things in the kitchen. So I spend a lot of time in the kitchen actually. So
Excellent. Hey, that should have been our first question.
Yeah,
that should have been the first question. Right, we need to make a note of that. First question, what is it you do in your spare
So
time?
one thing I will say is that I'm really struggling at the moment because if I let it, PlayStation would just dominate everything that I do. So
What's your favourite game?
So I love all of the FromSoft games, so Dark Souls, Elden Ring.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm playing Clair Obscure, Expedition 33, new role-playing game that's come out absolutely fantastic.
Is that because it's got a big... It's like you're writing and expanding?
Love stories. I love story-driven single-player experiences. But yeah, it's a massive challenge that I have to specifically only give myself an hour. Otherwise, I would sit in front of the PlayStation all the time.
At least you've gave yourself the rules for that. You know, you can't just run away with yourself.
I know myself
playing
well
computers.
enough to know that...
So I'm a guy. Like I've got my PlayStation, but I won't turn it on because I know that I'm all or nothing.
Yep.
And I know that will just be constant playing it.
Yep.
And then I give myself a hard time because I really want to play it, but there's stuff that needs done.
But then when you do play it, you give yourself a hard time because I'm like, wow, I should have spent that hour doing the piano or something else, you know.
That's mega, the piano. My mum used to play piano, so it's one thing I wish I'd learned. So
yeah, I'm not very good at it.
But that's the thing. It's the progression, though. It's like everything. That comment there just wraps up the entire podcast. Is like, just because you try something, and this is for everybody. You know, just if you try something once and you think, oh, I'm rubbish at it, and you just throw it away. Michael's still playing the piano, and he's saying he's not that good at it. You've got to stick at it. Like creatives, some are born, as you've heard me say before. Some are made, though, man. It's like some are made, and then we meet in the middle, and then we get together and we create together. And that's how things like this exist. Podcasts, people, places, trying to get too involved in the economic insecurities. But that's how these things can. Beautiful things are made from all the things we've spoke about. Chaos, fear, love, all the other stuff. You can put it into it. Anyway, so that leaves us on a massive high. Thank you very much for your time, Michael. Thank you so
much for having me.
It's been epic, man. And you know, I don't think this will be the last we've seen you. You know, I've always got a plan, don't you? And that's why I'm always asking that when you're writing and you're expanding. Like, I'm the same. As we are talking through this podcast, I'm already working on something that I try not to live in the future.
Yep.
But mine's is like, and I guess that's probably why we got on so well. My mind's like a computer. See, at night time when I'm lying in my bed, I am
not sleeping,
downloading, and then I lift my phone and I'm like, that'll go in, and then I message and send them emails in the morning, the team, all these ideas. I guess that's how the commonality. But honestly, thank you very much for myself and the team. It's been great having you on, and good luck in your new job. You're going to smash it anyway.
Thank you very
much. You already are. It's good to have you on here. And South of Scotland Enterprise is an asset. You're an asset, and you've definitely helped us along the way massively. So guys, listen, thank you very much for watching. As per usual, there is another episode after this, and that's the pilot done, but please stay tuned. As I've just said there, I've always got a plan. I'm going to leave you in a wee bit of wisdom today, one that I like saying. So if you can't find the kindness in the world, you have to become it. And that's it. So thank you very much again, Michael.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys. And thanks for watching. The usual, subscribe, help us out, let us grow and all that stuff. Share it. Blah, blah. Have a great day now. Bye-bye.
Bye.